Hello everyone, I'm here to do another tag video because I love doing those, and sometimes, like right now, I feel like I'm in a creative rut. I kind of revert back to tag videos. I hope that's okay. I hope they lessen more and I get my creative juices flowing back again. Just forgive me on that. I'm trying my best. Today's tag video is called the Book Snob tag. I wonder how much of a bookish snob I am. I don't know. Stay tuned to find out. Question number 1 is adaptations. Do you always read the book before watching the movie? And this is a good question. I would say probably back in the day when I first started BookTube, it would be a hard yes. Like I was like, I have to read this book before I see the movie. Like I remember I talk about time and time again where I like forced myself to read Beautiful Creatures because the movie was coming out and I had to read the book, then I had to see the movie. Turns out I didn't like either of them, so it was a lose-lose on that. But I'd say when I first began my channel, that was a very hard rule that I had to read the book, I had to watch the movie, like it was the Nicholas Sparks movie come out, I had to read the book. Now it's definitely lessened a ton. So I would say probably like 50-50. There's a good, like, if it's a book I am genuinely interested in and I would read it despite its adaptation like being made, I would definitely read it before watching the movie. Now if it's a book that I'm like, oh, I'm not that interested in, but the movie kind of looks good, I'll probably watch the movie, honestly. So yeah, it's like that. I mean, I'm so behind on my adaptations. I still have yet to see the freaking adaptation for The Sun Is Also a Star, which is, by the way, one of my favorite YA contemporary books. Haven't seen the movie yet. I don't know. I haven't had the time. What's wrong with me? But yeah, like lately, I can't think of one that I've watched that I haven't read the book of. I know there's some out there. I know, but I can't think of a single one. Number 2 is formats. If you had to choose one format to read from the rest of your life, which would it be? Would it be physical books, ebooks, or audiobooks? I'm gonna eliminate ebooks right off the bat because I just don't read them that often. I maybe read like 2 a year. I'm just not an ebook reader, but I think that also is very pertinent to where you're at in your life. I've said that the most ebooks I've ever read is when my son was first born because I like couldn't carry a book and a newborn baby. It was much easier to rock a baby and like hold my phone to read an ebook. That's just me. But now since he's older, I can read a physical book. So, you know, it depends on where I'm at in life. But I think for me, I'd probably choose physical books. I do like audiobooks, but if I had to limit myself to only audiobooks for the rest of my life, I think I would grow to despise them, quite honestly, because as much as I do enjoy audiobooks, I don't listen to them a ton. I think that's because I like music, and music is a huge decompressing time for me to listen to in the car. My son likes listening to music, and a lot of times I have to listen to either like kids music. If I have to hear Who Took the Cookie from the Cookie Jar one more time, I'm gonna lose my mind. And you know, he likes other music too, but I love music, listening to music in the car. Audiobooks, I can't, like those I have to really focus on listening to that, and I don't listen to them on like full-time speed, so I don't think that would be a very wise choice for me. So I'm gonna stick with physical books, which I read the most of anyway now, which I've always read the most of, so nothing's really changed for this answer. Number 3 is ship snob. Would you date or marry a non-reader? Well, what do you know? I already have. So I have a husband, his name's Matthew, we've been married for almost 11 years now, and guess what, guys? He doesn't read. He doesn't like reading. He doesn't enjoy it. I've maybe seen him read 3 books in the time we've been married in like these 11 years. He's just not a reader, and I'm okay with that because, you know, I think with any relationship there has to be some sort of similarities, but there can be also a lot of differences. He doesn't love reading, but he loves that I love reading. He loves listening. He loves, you know, that I do this. He loves that there's a platform out there for people that, you know, want to talk about books. He loves that our son loves reading, but that doesn't mean he has to be a reader at all. Much like there's a lot of things that he loves that I really like and like not super interested in. Like he loves baseball. I'm kind of into that, but not really. He loves computers and stuff. Kind of in that, but not really. But I'm passionate about it. But I care about it and I'm interested in it because he is. So this is not a freaking Dr. Phil talk. This is not marriage 101. Basically what I'm saying is you can date and marry a non-reader. You guys can have differences and similarities in a relationship. I'm done. The next question is genre snob. Genre snob. I could say things. If you had to ditch one genre to never read again for the rest of your life, what would it be? For me, I was gonna say horror, but then I'm like, I don't really read horror, so I can't be an honest answer of what I read. So Oh, I would have to, okay, so let's break it down into the genres that I read. If it doesn't count as genres that I read, horror definitely. But okay, I read mystery thrillers, I read a lot of literary fiction, I read a lot of chick lit, I read a lot of YA, fantasy, contemporary. I think that's all the genres I can think of. I would say the one, it's either, my gut is telling me mystery thrillers because I do enjoy those, but I don't read them a ton. And if I didn't read them for the rest of my life, I think I would be kind of upset about it, but not like super really. Whereas if somebody said you can never read another like chick lit or YA contemporary again, I would be like, why? So maybe that one, or maybe YA fantasy. Oh, I don't know, because there is some good YA fantasy out there and I do enjoy some of them, but lately it's just been kind of so I guess mystery thrillers would be my answer, I guess, which is hard, but there's my answer. Next up, we have ultra genre snob. If you had to choose one genre to read for the rest of your life, what would you choose? I feel like the honest answer would either be YA contemporary or like chick lit slash women's fiction slash literary fiction. Can I do that? Okay, not YA contemporary. I think I would get kind of over that. I'm gonna have to say, like, my two favorite genres, honestly, are kind of chick lit and, like, literary fiction, which could be combined into women's fiction, too. So I'm just gonna say literary fiction slash women's fiction. I think I would like that. I think it would be hard because if you only had to read one genre for the rest of your life, it would get kind of stale at times for sure, but that's gonna be the safe bet for me. I think, I hope. I don't know. Next up is community snob. Which genre do you think gets the most like community snobbery? That's a weird word to say. So basically saying what genre you think gets a bad rap or people don't take seriously and things like that. Chick lit, women's fiction. I mean, I think when people think of that, they think it's like, oh, it's just about a girl falling in love and ha ha ha. And I'm like, yeah, I get that. But a lot of times the writing is really good. It sends an overall good message. It doesn't have to end up with a guy. It's just like kind of a funny time. And I enjoy that. I like lighthearted reads. So I think that one probably, I think a lot of people will probably say smut because that's a little bit more steamier times, and a lot of people love them and appreciate them. But I think that also gets kind of frowned upon. But I don't read those a lot, so I feel like I can't say that. But I'm gonna say chick lit kind of women's fiction, like the ones that people don't take super seriously because they are labeled just as that, which is mind baffling in my opinion. And the last question is snobbery. I'm so tired of saying that word. Recipient. Have you ever been snubbed for something that you are reading or just reading in general? I don't think I've ever been like snobbed, whatever the correct terminology is, for something I'm reading in particular, but for reading in general. In high school and middle school, for sure, people looked down on me, snubbed me a lot for reading. I was known as the geek because I read a lot, even though I wasn't super smart in school. Like, I think people associate that if you read a lot, you're like really smart, and I'm like, no, I'm not really smart at all. Like, in fact, I'm kind of not the best at school, like math and science. Like, oh, don't even ask me because I don't think I could reach past a 3rd grade level. The general assumption in high school for me was like Heather was super smart and super geeky and read all the time, and people joked on me a lot for it, and that's how it was. And I remember one time I carried this really old copy of The Princess Diaries by Meg Cabot around because back in the day when I went in high school, which was like the early 2000s, there wasn't a big YA selection as there is now. Like, YA has boomed, it has been booming, it will continue to boom. Back in the day, it really wasn't that big of a genre, and Princess Diaries was one of the ones that you could get. So I like reread that, and I left it in the class one day, and I came back and people had written really mean things in it and drew graffiti and really just kind of messed it up and tore it and wrote vulgar things all over it, and I was just thinking like, this is like my life, like I'm gonna be shunned for reading forever. But luckily times have changed and reading is much more acceptable now, as it should and always be, and there's people like you guys that love talking about reading and like hearing me talk about reading, and I can finally talk about reading in a place where people can understand it. So yeah, I would say high school, middle school were definitely the times where people look down on me for reading, but who cares about them? The book snob tag. I actually really enjoyed that because it wasn't like you pulled a book and talked about it, or like you had a question like, which book would fit this? Which book would fit that? This was more talking about books in general, which I really enjoyed. My question for you is, have you ever been looked down upon because you're a reader? At what point in your life did that happen? You know, why, and how do you feel about that now? I would love to hear your thoughts about it, because I'm sure a lot of people have similar stories such as mine, but maybe have very different ones as well. I would love to hear if you've ever been looked down upon as a reader, which, forget them, by the way, if they've ever said that about you. I care about you and you're a great reader. So either way, I hope you enjoyed this video and the chaotic mess that it was, which is my life always. But thank you for watching. Bye.